The galaxy had long forgotten the name of Earth. For the alien empires that ruled the stars, humanity was just a rumor, a species said to have burned itself to ash before ever leaving its home world. To most, humans were a myth, a cautionary tale whispered among young cadets. Never be like the humans. They were too wild to survive the void. But tonight, on the edge of the Orith system, something impossible was happening. The warship Krythar Dominion drifted silently through the black emptiness. Its crew, tall, scaled warriors of the Zeldar species, moved with cold discipline. Their armor glimmered in faint blue light as they prepared for a salvage mission. They had detected a strange distress signal coming from an ancient wreck, a ship that was not listed in any galactic records. Commander Ralven stood on the bridge, his sharp yellow eyes fixed on the holographic display. "Bring it on screen," he ordered in a low growl. The display flickered, showing a ship covered in ice and debris. Its hull was metallic gray, old and scarred. The markings were faded, but one word still remained: Erebus. Ralven frowned. "That language, does anyone recognize it?" The science officer shook his head. "Negative, Commander. The database shows no match. It's pre-galactic, possibly from a dead world." Ralven narrowed his eyes. "Then we'll claim it. Prepare the boarding team." Minutes later, a small squad of Zeldar soldiers floated across the void, their magnetic boots clanging softly as they latched onto the silent ship. The interior was dark, filled with frozen air and shattered consoles. Everything seemed lifeless. Until something moved. One of the soldiers raised his plasma rifle. "I saw something," he hissed. "Hold position," Ralven barked through the comms. His eyes scanned the frozen corridor on his helmet display. The temperature was dropping fast. The readings were unstable. Then, a faint human voice broke through the static. "Who are you?" Every soldier froze. The signal came from the main cryo chamber. The doors hissed open with a long metallic groan, revealing a single pod still active, faintly glowing blue. Inside was a man, pale skin, frost clinging to his eyelashes, veins like dark lines under his frozen flesh. His uniform was old, simple, marked with a faded flag, United Earth Navy. The aliens exchanged nervous looks. "Is that a human?" one whispered. Ralven stepped forward. "Impossible. Humans are extinct." But before anyone could respond, the man's eyes snapped open. A harsh gasp filled the chamber as he tore the breathing mask away. His voice was cracked but steady. "Extinct, huh?" he muttered. "Guess I missed the funeral." The soldiers raised their rifles instantly, but the man didn't flinch. His eyes were steel gray, cold, calm, calculating. "Identify yourself," Ralven demanded. "Captain Mason Hale, Earth Navy," the human said, his breath fogging the air. "And you're trespassing on my ship." A tense silence followed. The aliens laughed, sharp, metallic sounds that echoed through the corridor. "Your ship? This wreck belongs to the Krythar Dominion now," Ralven sneered. Mason's lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. "Then you might want to leave before she wakes up." "She." Ralven frowned. Mason's hand brushed a panel beside the pod. The floor trembled. Old systems began to hum to life, lights flickering one by one down the dark hallway. "What did you do?" one of the soldiers shouted. Mason stepped forward, his muscles still stiff from cryosleep. "You should have done your research," he said quietly. "The Erebus isn't just a ship. She's a war machine, one built for humans who didn't like losing." Warning lights bathed the chamber in red. The ship's AI spoke in a cold, human voice. "Welcome back, Captain. Enemy presence detected." Before the aliens could react, the walls unfolded. Drones powered by ancient energy whirred to life, locking targets. Plasma beams burst through the darkness. The first alien screamed as his armor melted away. Another tried to fire but was caught in a web of laser fire. Ralven roared, diving for cover, his translator buzzing with Mason's calm words. "You thought no human could survive the void. Mason said, his voice echoing through the ship. You were dead wrong. Outside, the Erebus began to move, engines groaning as if waking from a 1,000-year slumber. The wreck was no longer silent. It was alive. As the surviving aliens fled toward their shuttle, Commander Ralven looked back one last time. Through the smoke and chaos, he saw the humans standing on the bridge, a ghost reborn from legend, his eyes fixed on the stars. In that moment, Ralven felt something no Zeldar warrior had felt in generations. Fear. Because if one human had survived the void, others might have too. The Erebus drifted through the void like a ghost reborn. Inside, Captain Mason Hale stood alone on the bridge, surrounded by flickering screens and the low hum of power returning after centuries of silence. His breath still misted in the cold air, and his body ached from the long cryosleep, but his mind was sharp, too sharp to rest. Status report, he said quietly. The ship's AI responded in her calm, mechanical voice. Power at 42%. Weapons system reinitializing. Cryomodules, all personnel deceased. You are the last surviving human aboard Erebus. Mason closed his eyes for a moment. The words hit him like a silent punch. He had known the others wouldn't make it, the cryosystems weren't built to last this long, but hearing it confirmed twisted something deep inside him. How long was I out? Time elapsed, 971 years, Captain. Mason let out a low whistle. Almost 1,000 years, and humanity's gone. He looked out the main viewport. Stars glittered like cold fire across the dark sea. Guess I'm late to the end of the world. He turned his gaze to the radar. The alien ship, the Krythar Dominion, was still nearby, limping away, its engines damaged from the Erebus's automated counterattack. Don't let them get too far, Mason ordered. The AI hesitated. Captain, ship integrity is still fragile. Pursuit is not recommended. I didn't ask for recommendations, he replied. His voice was low, but firm. They woke me up. I need to know why. Engines flared to life, old thrusters roaring after nearly a millennium. The Erebus began to move. Her hull groaned, ancient metal struggling under the strain, but Mason could feel her heart beating again. He opened the comms. This is Captain Mason Hale of the Earth Navy. To the vessel retreating ahead, stop your engines. You've got one chance to explain yourselves. Static. Then, a harsh alien voice replied, broken and angry. Human, you don't belong in this galaxy anymore. Mason smiled faintly. Yeah, I figured that out. But I'm here anyway. The alien commander, Ralven, appeared on the cracked holoscreen, his scaled face covered in burns. You're a relic, Ralven hissed. Your kind destroyed themselves before ever reaching the stars. You should have stayed dead. Maybe, Mason said, eyes narrowing. But looks like your kind didn't do much better. You've been at war so long you forgot what peace looks like. Ralven growled, his yellow eyes burning. We will finish what your extinction began. Before Mason could respond, the alien ship fired. A bolt of plasma streaked across space, slamming into the Erebus. The hull shuddered violently. Sparks flew from broken consoles. Shields at 20%, the AI reported. Mason gritted his teeth. Return fire. The Erebus answered with thunder. Old human cannons came alive, railguns and plasma batteries roaring to life, guided by ancient targeting systems. The void lit up with streaks of blue and white. The Krythar Dominion twisted and rolled, returning fire desperately, but its shields were weakening fast. Inside the alien ship, panic spread. None of their training had prepared them for a human warship, especially one built in an era where survival meant total destruction. Captain, the AI warned. Weapon coils overheating. Push them, Mason said. We finish this now. The Erebus unleashed one final barrage. A railgun slug tore through the alien cruiser's core, ripping it apart. The explosion bloomed like a dying star, scattering metal and flame into the void. Silence returned. Mason stood there, breathing hard, surrounded by the glow of ruined consoles. "One ship down," he murmured. "Thousands more to go, maybe." The AI spoke again, her tone softer now. "Captain, long-range sensors detect multiple signals approaching. The Krythar Dominion transmitted your coordinates before destruction." Mason looked up slowly. His expression didn't change. Calm, steady, but the fire in his eyes grew colder. "Let them come," he said quietly. "If the galaxy wants to see what humanity really was, we'll show them." He reached for the control panel and engaged full combat mode. Red lights filled the bridge, and the ship's ancient systems roared to life once more. In the far distance, several alien warships emerged from hyperspace, sleek, modern, and deadly. And in front of them, the lone human warship Erebus waited, damaged, ancient, but alive. Captain Mason Hale straightened his back, his voice calm as he spoke to the AI. "Let's remind them, Athena, why the void feared humans." The ship's systems pulsed in response, like a heartbeat waking from centuries of silence. In that endless sea of darkness, a single human spark burned bright once again, and the galaxy was about to learn that some legends die hard. The Erebus floated in the dark void, silent once again, but this silence was not peace. It was the quiet before the next storm. Captain Mason Hale stood on the bridge, watching the approaching lights of the alien fleet. His eyes reflected the cold blue of the tactical screens, but behind them burned something older, the instinct of a soldier who had lost everything, yet refused to break. "Athena," he said softly, "how many ships?" 7 war-class vessels. Estimated time to contact, 12 minutes, the AI replied calmly. "Their firepower exceeds our current capacity by 400%. Mason gave a small smile. 400%, huh? Sounds fair. The AI paused. "Captain, logic suggests retreat." "Logic doesn't win wars," he said, stepping toward the command chair. "Courage does." He sat down and placed his hand on the ancient control panel. The cold metal recognized his touch. Lights flared to life across the bridge as Erebus's core began to hum with deep energy. "You remember the old days, Athena," he said quietly. "Back when we fought to keep humanity alive, not for conquest, not for glory, just survival." "I remember," Athena said. "And I remember the last order you gave before cryosleep. If I wake up, it means humanity still has a chance." Mason looked at the stars. "Then I guess it's time to make that true." The alien fleet was closing in. Their ships glided in formation, smooth, silver, and deadly. The Zeldar commander aboard the flagship, Ralven's second-in-command, watched the lone human ship on the monitor. "Primitive craft detected," he hissed. "No hyperspace signal. Likely damaged." Another officer smirked. "The commander failed to destroy it. Let us finish the job." But they didn't understand what kind of ship they were facing. Inside Erebus, Mason activated the ancient tactical systems. Project Revenant, a relic of Earth's last wars. Red holograms filled the air, showing weapon signatures long banned even in human wars. "Activate Ghost Protocol," Mason ordered. "Confirmed," Athena said. "Stealth field online. All external signals masked." The Erebus vanished from enemy sensors. Moments later, one of the alien ships fired a barrage into the empty void. Nothing hit. Confusion spread across their fleet. "Where did it go?" one shouted. Then the Erebus struck. Out of the darkness, a rail slug tore through the first alien ship, slicing it clean in half. The explosion lit up the void like a small sun. Before the others could react, the human warship reappeared behind them, firing with impossible precision. Plasma turrets, railguns, and EMP bursts hammered their shields. Inside the enemy flagship, panic grew. "It's impossible," the commander yelled. "That ship should not have this kind of power." But Mason wasn't relying on power, he was relying on history. Every maneuver, every move, every strike was pure human instinct. Fast, unpredictable, ruthless. The Erebus fought like a cornered beast that had remembered how to kill. 3 alien ships went dark within minutes. 2 more tried to retreat, but Mason had already locked onto them. "They came here to finish me," he said quietly, "so let's not disappoint them." The Erebus fired a final rail shot. The slug pierced the fleeing ships, detonating their engines in a chain of blue fire. The last enemy ship, the flagship, turned all its weapons toward the human vessel. "Captain," Athena warned, "incoming full salvo. Impact in 5 seconds." Mason exhaled slowly. "All right then." He leaned forward, eyes hard. "Let's give them something to remember." The Erebus's front cannons charged, drawing on every remaining drop of energy. The old ship's frame shook violently, alarms screamed, lights flickered, but Mason didn't stop. "Now!" he shouted. Both ships fired. The void exploded in light. Energy waves rippled across space, blinding sensors for miles. When the brightness faded, only debris floated. The alien flagship was gone, vaporized. And through the smoke, the Erebus still moved, damaged but alive. "Athena?" Mason asked, voice strained. "Still here," she replied. "Hull integrity at 15%. We cannot survive another fight like that." Mason chuckled weakly. "We won't have to. Not yet." He looked at the wreckage drifting past. "Send a signal. Something the galaxy hasn't heard in 1,000 years." Athena hesitated. "Message content." Mason's eyes hardened. "Simple. Humanity endures." The AI transmitted the message into deep space. Across dozens of sectors, sensors picked up the ancient code, Earth's military distress beacon, something every race thought extinct. And somewhere, far beyond the Orith system, old machines long buried under alien soil began to stir. As Mason stood on the cracked bridge of his dying ship, he looked out at the endless stars and whispered, "Let's see who's still out there." For the first time in centuries, the void wasn't empty anymore, it was listening. The Erebus drifted through the dark, broken but alive. Sparks crawled across her torn hull like lightning trapped in steel. Deep inside, Captain Mason Hale sat alone in the flickering light of the command bridge. His uniform was scorched, his face streaked with blood and exhaustion, but his eyes still burned with purpose. Athena's voice echoed softly. "Hull integrity at 14%. Life support critical. I recommend full power down for repairs." Mason leaned back in his seat, staring at the endless void beyond the shattered glass. "And leave ourselves blind while half the galaxy's hunting for us? Not yet. The signal has been detected in multiple systems," Athena said. "Several responses incoming. Unknown origins." Mason's lips curved into a faint smile. "Good. Maybe someone heard the call." Outside, debris floated like ghosts, pieces of alien ships, fragments of battle, silent witnesses to what a single human had done. Across the galaxy, the story was already spreading. Rumors whispered through alien outposts, a human warship awakened in the void. A ghost from Earth destroyed an entire fleet. Many laughed it off as superstition. Others were not so sure. On the planet Rios, 7, a mining colony under Zeldar control, a group of enslaved workers huddled around an old comms unit. Static hissed, then a coded message played through the noise. "Humanity endures." The workers froze. Some stared in disbelief, others in quiet awe. Among them, a woman with cybernetic eyes, half human, half alien, whispered, "He's real." Back on the Erebus, Athena interrupted Mason's thoughts. Long-range scan detecting 3 incoming ships. Fast approach. Weapons not armed. Mason straightened. "Show me." 3 ships appeared on the holographic display. Small, agile vessels, old designs. Their hulls bore faded markings, human markings. Mason's heart skipped a beat. "Athena, are those?" "Confirmed," she said. "Human origin. Pre-fall tech. Identifiers, Nomad, Aurora, and Ranger." Mason's hand trembled slightly. They survived. Moments later, a voice crackled through the comms, rough, full of static. This is Commander Juno Reyes of the Aurora. To whoever sent that signal, identify yourself. Mason smiled faintly. Captain Mason Hale, Earth Navy. I didn't expect company. There was a stunned silence. Then Juno's voice returned, shaking slightly. Hale. That's impossible. You were declared lost during the Exodus War. Yeah, Mason replied. I got better. The three ships moved closer, forming a triangle around the Erebus. Their lights illuminated her battered hull. You're a legend, Juno said. We thought you were a story, the last captain of Earth's war fleet. Stories don't shoot back, Mason said. And we've got a lot of work to do. Before they could speak further, Athena interrupted sharply. Warning. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, large fleet inbound. Juno swore. They followed you. Good, Mason said quietly. They'll regret it. Moments later, blue streaks tore open the void, dozens of Zeldar warships dropping out of hyperspace, weapons armed and ready. The small human ships scattered into defensive positions. Juno's voice came over comms, fierce and steady. We stand with you, Captain. Mason smiled, a hard, tired smile. Then let's show them what the galaxy forgot. The Erebus's damaged guns powered up again, glowing like dying stars reigniting. The Aurora and Nomad joined formation beside her, their older engines roaring. Three ancient human ships faced an entire alien fleet, outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of spirit. Athena spoke softly, almost like she was remembering a song. Captain, it feels like the old days again. Mason nodded. Yeah. Just us against the impossible. The alien commander's voice thundered over the open channel. Surrender, human. You are relics of a dead race. Mason's reply was quiet, but it carried across the comms like steel. Then let's remind you how the dead fought. The void exploded in light. Railguns fired. Plasma storms ripped through the darkness. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, fast, unpredictable, fierce. The Erebus, even broken, still fought like a beast awakened from legend. Alien ships burned one after another. The Zeldar commander watched in disbelief. They're not supposed to exist, he whispered. But they did. Hours later, when the smoke cleared and the last alien ship fled, only silence remained. The Erebus floated amidst the wreckage, barely holding together. Mason looked at the burning horizon of space. Athena, he said quietly, broadcast to every system. Full strength. Message. Tell them Earth lives, Mason said. And we're coming home. Far beyond the battlefield, the signal spread like wildfire, across trade routes, through outlaw colonies, through silent satellites that hadn't received a message from Earth in 1,000 years. For the first time in centuries, the stars whispered one phrase in 100 alien tongues. The humans have returned. The void burned with the ghosts of war. Wreckage from the Zeldar fleet drifted silently through space, glowing faintly against the light of distant stars. Amid the debris, the human ships, Erebus, Aurora, Nomad, and Ranger, floated in formation, scarred but standing. Captain Mason Hale leaned against the shattered console on the bridge of the Erebus, his face lit by the soft red glow of emergency lights. The air was thin, metallic, and heavy with the smell of burnt wiring. Athena's voice broke the silence. Repairs complete on primary reactors. Weapon systems at 38%. Structural integrity remains critical. 38%'s better than zero, Mason muttered. He looked out at the battlefield. Any word from the others? Commander Reyes reports minimal losses, Athena said. They are requesting orders. Mason straightened. His body ached, every muscle screaming from exhaustion, but his voice was steady. Patch her through. The holoscreen flickered to life. Commander Juno Reyes appeared, her short hair slicked with sweat, uniform stained with grease and blood. You really don't know how to die, do you, Hale? she said with a half-smile. Mason smirked back. Not my favorite hobby. She grew serious. You realize what you just did? That battle wasn't just a victory. The whole sector's talking about it. A human fleet, alive, fighting again. You've started something. Mason looked down, thinking. Good. Let them talk. Fear travels faster than light. Athena interrupted quietly. Incoming transmission, Captain. Not Zeldar. It's a public broadcast, galactic channel. Mason gestured. Put it through. The image shifted to a wide galactic broadcast, an alien newscaster speaking in a dozen translated tongues. Reports confirm the reappearance of human warships in the Orith system. Eyewitnesses claim a vessel known as Erebus destroyed an entire Dominion fleet. The Zeldar High Command has declared a state of emergency, calling the event a threat to galactic stability. The feed cut off. Juno whistled softly. You're officially public enemy number 1. Mason smirked, but his eyes were cold. Then they'll know where to find me. Suddenly, the sensors beeped. Athena's tone sharpened. Multiple unknown signatures on long-range scan. Not Zeldar. Different configuration. Approaching at sublight speed. Mason frowned. How many? Dozens. Maybe hundreds. The crew exchanged tense looks. Athena continued, energy readings suggest mixed technology, human and alien hybrids. I detect old Earth designs merged with newer systems. Juno's voice came through the comms, breathless. You think it's more survivors? Mason's eyes narrowed. Open a channel. Static hissed for a moment. Then a deep voice spoke, calm, steady, human. This is Admiral Tyron Holt of the Free Terran Coalition. To the captain of the Erebus, we received your signal. Humanity is not extinct. We've been waiting. Mason froze. For a moment, he didn't breathe. Free Terran Coalition, he repeated. Yes, Holt replied. We are what remains of the colonies that escaped the fall. Hidden, rebuilding in the rim systems. When your message reached us, we mobilized. Mason exhaled slowly, disbelief mixing with relief. You don't know how long I've been waiting to hear those words. Holt's voice softened. Welcome back, Captain Hale. Humanity has a home again, and it's time to take it back. For the first time in centuries, hope filled the bridge. The humans weren't extinct. They had survived, scattered, hidden, but alive. Juno's face appeared again, her eyes wide. Mason, this changes everything. We can rebuild. Fight together. But Mason didn't smile. He looked at the fading stars outside and said quietly, if we're going to survive, we'll need more than ships. We'll need unity, something humanity never had before. Athena's systems pinged softly. Admiral Holt requests rendezvous coordinates. He wishes to meet face to face. Mason nodded. Set a course. As the Erebus and her small fleet turned toward the distant beacon of the Free Terran Coalition, the stars around them seemed to brighten. The human legacy, once thought lost, was stirring again, stronger, angrier, and wiser than before. Athena's voice was quiet now, almost thoughtful. Captain, do you think they're ready for what's coming? Mason looked at the endless void ahead. Doesn't matter, he said. We are. Far behind them, the wreckage of alien ships floated cold and silent, a warning to the galaxy. The humans had survived the void. And now, they were coming home. The Erebus moved silently through the starfields, escorted by 3 smaller ships, Aurora, Nomad, and Ranger. Their hulls glimmered faintly as they followed the signal beacon toward the hidden sector Admiral Holt had sent. 4 days, the fleet drifted through uncharted space, crossing old war zones and forgotten debris fields. Captain Mason Hale stood on the observation deck, watching the distant glow of the nebula ahead. It looked almost alive, swirling colors of blue and gold, like a storm frozen in time. Athena's voice broke the silence. We are approaching the coordinates, Captain. Energy readings consistent with artificial masking fields. Mason nodded. Drop to half speed. Let's not walk into a trap. From the Aurora, Commander Juno Reyes' voice came through the comms. I've got the same readings. That's a lot of power for a hidden colony. Mason replied, if they survived this long, they learned how to hide. As the fleet moved closer, the nebula flickered, and then, slowly, it opened. Behind the veil of light, an entire system appeared. Massive structures orbited a red dwarf star, space stations, shipyards, and civilian habitats. Human ships patrolled the perimeter, sleek and modern, marked with the insignia of the Free Terran Coalition. Mason stared, silent for a long moment. They did it, he whispered. They really rebuilt. A transmission came through. Unidentified fleet, this is the Free Terran Defense Command. Transmit authorization code or prepare to be fired upon. Athena's voice remained calm. Authorization code transmitted, Erebus, Alpha, 01. There was a long pause. Then, a shocked reply, code confirmed. By all systems, welcome home, Erebus. The massive defense cannons around the stations powered down. The fleet was cleared for entry. As they flew closer, Mason saw the human world below, a planet scarred but thriving. City lights glimmered across its surface. Terraforming engines glowed like small suns. Humanity had not died in silence. It had adapted. When the ships docked at the primary orbital station, Mason and Juno stepped out into the docking bay. Hundreds of uniformed soldiers lined the corridor, standing at attention. At the end stood Admiral Tyron Holt, a tall man with a silver beard and eyes that carried the weight of many battles. Mason hail, Holt said with a faint smile. I thought I'd never see another officer from the old fleet. Mason nodded. Almost didn't. Cryosleep's not exactly a restful vacation. Holt chuckled. You've caused quite the disturbance, Captain. The Zeldar are in chaos. Half the galaxy's terrified. You've reignited the human name. Not the goal, Mason said. Just survival. Holt's smile faded. Then you should know, survival's about to get harder. He led Mason and Juno into the command chamber. A giant holographic map of the galaxy hovered above the table. Red markers spread across several systems, all labeled Dominion-controlled. The Zeldar are uniting, Holt said grimly. They formed an alliance with two other major races, the Dravik and the Vale. They're calling it the Purge Accord. Their goal, eliminate the human resurgence before it spreads. Juno clenched her fists. They're afraid. Exactly, Mason said. And fear makes them dangerous. Holt turned to him. That's why I need you, Captain. You've seen how they fight, and you've already proven humans can win. We need your ship, your experience, your mind. Help us lead. Mason looked at the map, silent for a moment. So many red systems. So many enemies. Then he said quietly, You don't need me to lead, Admiral. You need me to remind them what humans are capable of. Juno frowned. Mason, what are you thinking? He turned to her with a hard smile. We don't wait for them to come to us. We hit first. Strike their command worlds. Show them that hiding behind fleets and treaties won't save them. Holt raised an eyebrow. You want to start a war? Mason's eyes burned with cold fire. No. I want to finish the one they started 1,000 years ago. The room fell silent. Holt studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Then it begins again. Outside the command window, the human fleet began to mobilize. Docks came alive, engines roared, weapons charged. Thousands of humans, descendants of survivors, prepared for battle under a flag no one had seen in nearly a millennium. Athena's voice whispered in Mason's ear through the comms. Captain, we're going back to war. Mason stared out at the endless stars, his reflection in the glass cold and determined. No, he said softly. We're going home. And as the Erebus powered up once more, the deep drums of war began to echo through the galaxy, a sound not heard in 1,000 years. The humans were marching again. The Erebus soared at the head of a vast armada, hundreds of human ships cutting through the dark like blades of light. The stars glimmered coldly around them, but this time, Mason Hale wasn't alone. The Free Terran Coalition had risen. Humanity had returned to the battlefield. From the bridge, Mason watched the enemy systems grow closer on the holomap. Entire sectors now glowed red, worlds under the control of the Purge Accord. The Zeldar, the Dravik, and the Veil had combined their fleets, their banners flying in unison for the first time in galactic history. Their only goal, erase the human name before it could rise again. Athena's voice cut through the hum of the command deck. Enemy fleet detected in the Lysar belt. Estimated strength: 5,000 ships. Juno Reyes, standing beside Mason, clenched her jaw. That's half their military might. Mason's tone was calm. Then this is where we end it. The officers on deck looked at him, a man out of time, a ghost from the ancient wars, and felt their courage steady. His voice carried quiet certainty, the kind that only comes from someone who has already lost everything once. Signal all ships, Mason said. Form up for battle pattern Nova. No fear. No retreat. The command echoed through the fleet. Across hundreds of cockpits, human pilots prepared their weapons. Soldiers whispered quiet oaths. Engineers blessed machines older than their grandparents. The void shimmered with their determination. And then the enemy arrived. Like a tidal wave of metal and fire, the Purge Accord fleet emerged from hyperspace. Their warships blotted out the stars, colossal carriers, swarms of fighters, alien dreadnoughts burning with energy. Admiral Holt's voice came through the comms. They've brought everything they've got, Mason. They want to crush us in one strike. Then we make sure it's their last mistake, Mason replied. He turned to Athena. Activate Erebus protocol. Full systems override. Captain, she warned, that will overheat the reactor core. Survival probability drops below 20%. Mason's voice didn't waver. Do it. The ship began to glow with deep red light. Old systems, weapons from a forgotten age, roared awake. The Erebus's core thrummed like a heartbeat of pure fury. Let's show them, Mason said, why the void remembers us. The battle began. Human and alien fleets clashed across the stars. Plasma beams, kinetic slugs, and ion storms tore through the void. Ships exploded like dying suns. The Aurora and Nomad weaved through enemy formations, launching missile swarms that carved through the alien lines. Mason stood unmoving in the chaos, issuing calm, precise orders. Reyes, flank left. Holt, push the center. Draw their dreadnoughts toward us. As the enemy closed in, Mason whispered to Athena, target the flagship. The screen locked onto a massive alien vessel, the Zeldar Sovereign, command ship of the Purge Accord. Its shields glowed like molten glass. Fire all rail batteries. The Erebus's cannons thundered, tearing through the void. The first shot cracked the enemy's outer shield. The second ripped through its hull. The third hit its core, and the alien ship erupted in a blaze of white fire. A cheer rose across the human channels, but it was short-lived. Athena's tone shifted. Captain, multiple energy spikes detected. The enemy is charging a planet-breaker weapon. Mason turned sharply. Location: Lysar Prime. Civilian colony below. They intend to wipe it clean. Mason's jaw tightened. Not while I'm breathing. He tapped the comm. All ships, this is Captain Hale. The enemy's targeting Lysar Prime. Divert everything you've got. We stop that weapon, or humanity burns with it. Engines flared. The entire fleet changed course. Human ships dove through enemy lines, taking heavy fire. The Erebus led the charge, her hull burning, her armor peeling away. Athena's voice was soft now. Reactor core approaching meltdown. Mason smiled faintly. That's fine. We'll burn brighter than they ever could. The Erebus locked onto the enemy superweapon, a massive cannon the size of a city, charging energy toward the planet. Mason placed his hand on the control panel. Route all power to the main railgun, he ordered. Captain, Athena said quietly, this shot will destroy us. Mason's gaze was steady. Then let's make it count. The ship trembled as every last drop of energy was poured into the weapon. The railgun glowed white-hot. Juno's voice came through the comms, urgent, breaking. Mason, pull back. You'll die out there. He smiled. Already did, Juno. The Erebus fired. A beam of light tore through the darkness, striking the alien weapon dead center. The explosion was beyond sound, beyond sight, a blinding burst that consumed the void itself. When it faded, the enemy fleet was gone. The Erebus was gone too. Only fragments drifted where the human warship had stood. But the colony below still lived. Hours later, as rescue ships searched the wreckage, Athena's faint voice crackled through static. System, online. Captain Mason Hale, status unknown. And far across the stars, in the deep silence of the void, a beacon flickered, ancient, defiant, still burning. It pulsed a single message into the darkness. Humanity endures. The legend of Captain Mason Hale spread across the galaxy. To the free Terran worlds, he became a symbol, the man who defied extinction. To the alien empires, he became a warning. And though the Erebus was gone, its fire still lived on, in every ship, every soldier, every world that whispered his final words. They thought no human could survive the void. They were dead wrong.